part of being a yoga practitioner is practicing through the ebbs and flows of life. Last fall, Tina showed up to the studio in the early morning hobbling, and she had fallen the day before and hadn't been to the doctor yet, but we figured it was a strain. So she went through her practice that day doing a modified
primary series.
Yeah. And it looked quite different because she couldn't basically bear any weight on her left leg. And I got the text later on in the day saying that she had actually broken her tibia. And there's Tina showed up the next day in a half cast for practice. And for the next, how long were you in the cast for?
7 to 8 weeks.
Okay, 7 to 8 weeks. Tina was practicing in a modified form with a cast, and honestly, it was truly inspirational. I think so many times people stop coming to the studio because they've tweaked something. In this case, she literally had a cast, but she still showed up. And it's so important if you have an injury to keep practicing and show up, because blood circulation is going to be happening through the power of the vinyasa, the breath being linked to the movement with the use of the bandha, with the drishti. It's a really powerful healing component. Initially, there was no weight on your left foot at all, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went and she moved through a couple different casts, she was able to apply various degrees of weight. The main thing we tried to do is to keep everything really even. So I remember once in Kapotasana, because the cast was bigger, one leg was higher than the other, so we had to take a book and just put it under the other leg so that it was the same height. And we were just mainly looking for things like that, anything to give her more foundation. But ideally, she still did the vinyasas. And granted, Tina's been practicing for many years, so she has a solid established practice. But the main thing is that she kept practicing throughout the entire course of her injury.
So in addition to working closely with Fiona and all the practitioners in the room, I find that keeping that internal count in my head as I moved through the practice was instrumental in helping me even just go through the day. And I would try, although sometimes it may not be physically possible, to still practice to the vinyasa count as I move through the primary series and eventually where I was in second.
This is a loose interpretation of what a Marichi A looked like. You have to remember, go ahead, that she had a thick cast on, so and her leg wouldn't obviously bend. There was some hindrance. So she would bind underneath her thigh. And this was kind of Marichi A. Sometimes we might just be there to provide a bit of foundation or scaffolding for her to help her out in the pose, something like this. But when she exited, she was still able to do her vinyasa, and that's so important when you're going through an accident or you're healing from an injury. Remember, her leg's broken, her bottom leg, and she couldn't bear any weight, so her leg would just kind of float in the air. And this is how it happened for a while, and she was even able to jump through. This is where it's important to have a community to where you can go and be supported. And I have to say, I don't think I heard Tina complain once. There was no air cast given to her. She actually went straight to walking, and the doctor said apply weight, which is really amazing. And I have to think that that's due to the fact that she really kept the circulation going throughout the entire injury. And when they took off the cast, usually one side is much dramatically smaller than the other side. And yes, it was smaller, but not dramatically. It really wasn't so as extreme as I thought it would be. So if you have hurt yourself, don't stop practicing if you have a practice. Modify, listen to your body, obviously don't push, but this is a great opportunity to enhance your healing through the practice of vinyasa, breath linked with movement, using bandha.